What's going on? I'm Cole, and today on our disc golf journey, we're going to do something a little bit different. I've noticed that there are some people who actually don't play disc golf that have started watching my channel. So I wanted to start a new kind of segment where I kind of talk over some of the basics of disc golf. I'm going to just be calling this like Disc Golf 101. I'm going to go over some of the slang terms, some of the things that you need to know. This one will mainly be about just like what you need, I guess, to generally think about the game. So there's really two things that you need to play disc golf. The first one is that you need a disc, and we're not talking about like these old school frisbees. This is an ultimate frisbee, but we're talking about the actual disc golf discs. I've got a few of mine here, and I'll just kind of show you and explain the different types of discs. So there's only three different types of discs when it comes down to it. The first one is a putter. This is probably one that is most recommended to be the front. You can kind of tell it's got this rounded edge. Some of them have beads. That's what this will be. Some of them do not. This is a wizard, but it's just kind of, your standard putter. This is probably the most basic one. Usually those are held like this. The next disc up is going to be the mid-range. Some people will call these a mid-range driver. You can see this one is not quite as rounded as that one. I also, on this one, it's one of the ones that I got an ace with, and big shout out. It's got the disc golf course review. If you don't have, if you've never been to that site, it's a site that I used to spend a lot of time on. Next up, we have two discs that kind of fall in that same realm. So the next up is a driver, and you can kind of tell these have more of a sharper edge, but there's two types of drivers. So this is an Explorer. This is what is known as a fairway driver. As you can tell, the rim is fairly smaller. This one is a hooligan vibe, and if you look at this, this is actually a distance driver. If you kind of compare the two of them, you can tell the rims are a little bit different, and that's kind of going to be the little bit different. Normally, I think the drivers are anywhere from the 10 speed, where these ones go up to, I think, anywhere from 9 to 10, depending on the brand. But those are the basic discs that you'll need. Most recommendation would be that if you're just starting off into disc golf, to just get a putter and a mid-range to kind of try out and just kind of really figure out, and then maybe going into a fairway driver. But the second object that you need is a target. For the most case scenarios, those targets are going to be baskets, and that's what you'll see at most of the modern stuff. Probably have one right here. So if you've never seen a basket before, this is what they look like. There are very different iterations of these, and maybe I'll have a few kind of scroll over through here that'll show there, but you don't necessarily need a basket. I think, the original disc golf kind of came from targets, which some would be just a post, let's say like a 4x4 at a course, and you just have to hit that. But in other situations, some people, if you don't have a course locally, but you have some land, maybe you're just throwing to a tree, or you have like a pole or something out there that is just a landmark that you're throwing the disc to and trying to get to that. And if you're fairly familiar with the rules of golf, disc golf is set up about the same way. Your goal is to get to the target in the least amount of throws as possible. And when it comes to scoring, it's kind of set up the same way as golf. When there's one over, that is a bogey. A birdie is one stroke under, a eagle is 2 strokes under, and an albatross is 3 strokes under. And when you get into the bogeys, if you start going over, it just becomes a double, triple, quadruple, or whatever worse you could come up with. The only difference, I think, when it comes to the scoring method, in disc golf, if you get a hole-in-one, it's normally called an ace, which I don't think that there's really a term for that in golf besides just saying you've got a hole-in-one, but it is a fairly big slang for saying ace, I think, when you get a hole-in-one in disc golf. Now, the biggest thing, I guess, is how you're going to get that disc to that target in disc golf. I would say that while there are variations of all of these, there are 3 main styles of throwing. If you look up forums or you start to see people even talking on Reddit, a lot of the first thing you'll see is either RH or LH, and that terminology just means right hand or left hand. So the idea is that a left-handed player, the disc will travel differently, or the exact opposite essentially as a right-handed player. And I'm not too certain how the physics work in golf, but just because of the way that a disc flies, you're almost going to be opposite of somebody that throws the same way, but with their different hands. But the three main styles, and I'll kind of have probably a video of me over here throwing in the styles as I talk about them, are going to be, the first one is backhand. I think this is kind of the generally most regular or used form for people. It might be the hardest one, I think, in some instances for certain people to learn, but this is the one that I think if you've known and seen somebody throw a frisbee, this is probably the most relatable. I think most people are putting this way too. So no matter what, even if you are a forehand dominant player, you're probably going to be putting more similar to backhand, even though there are different styles of putting, and maybe in the later episodes we'll get into those. That is kind of what it is. The second is going to be forehand. This is another one that I think, when it's coming to a lot of the people on the pros, this is something that you see a lot of, but mostly this isn't going to be primarily what people use. I know that there are certain pros that do throw that way and do have very good success. I think Owen Scoggins is one that I can think of off the top of my head that throws primarily mostly forehand, but I know in the end of her career or season this year, she did have some issues with that. So that is forehand. And the other one is going to be overhand. Some people might call this a tomahawk. There's also a thumber, and I think the difference between the two is just holding it like this as opposed to holding it like this, whereas if you have your thumb on the inside, it would be considered the thumber. This is pretty much a lot less of an organized shot, but I know when I personally started, I learned from a lot of people that played baseball. So I think if you're transitioning from a sport like baseball, this is one that just naturally seems like something that you're used to. Now there are other styles of shots, but primarily they all kind of come from these three general ideas. But I'm gonna say that usually the easiest thing to do is just get out there, throw each kind of style, and just see which one seems the most comfortable. Also see which one you kind of have the best results with. And that might be the best place to start. So this is going to be the first episode of Disc Golf 101. I just went through the basics, but as we go through, I will have a few more episodes of this where we'll talk about some of more of the slang words, maybe a little bit of what you heard me say. In some of the videos that I have, maybe these will at least help. And if there are any terms you've heard and you'd like me to talk about, let me know down below. And I think, some of the stuff that I'm saying is just some stuff that might be more locally based, I guess, because as I know, there's certain slang words or terminologies that I think certain people say differently depending on where they're at. So if there's anything that you think that I had wrong here, I'd love to know in the comments. And also, if there's anything that you'd like to learn more about, please let me know. Once again, I am by no means a pro, but I've been playing this game for a long time and I have some, a little bit of knowledge, and I just wanted to kind of teach a little bit more so that if there are people kind of learning or wanting to learn, hopefully these videos should be helpful to you. And I actually ended up recording that video a while ago, but I know that there's been a few people that has asked about kind of this 101 type video. So I'm glad that I could actually come back, re-edit this, put it out here, and hopefully it helps. And if you like this kind of thing, make sure you hit that subscribe and join me on my disc golf journey. I do a lot of fun stuff here. Lately, I've been doing some what is the best mid-range. I'll have that playlist up here. There is some giveaways, so if you go back and watch some of those videos, you have a chance to win a disc. And I have another video right here with another giveaway, so make sure to check those out. As always, I've been Cole. Peace.